Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast and the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to the show. I sincerely appreciate you tuning in and listening this week. Our topic is rebuilding your finances from scratch, something that if you are contemplating going through or post-divorce, I'm sure that you can all appreciate. But before we jump into the topic and get into specifics, let's welcome Nate and Devon to the Divorced Advocate community. If you have not checked out the community yet, go to thedivorcedadvocate.com. We've got resources for you wherever you're at in your divorce journey, and we've got resources that are free to paid resources. So whatever you need, wherever you're at, we have something for you. Check out the event page too, fellas. We've got a ton of stuff going on that are free resources, Q&As every single month. I know the holidays are coming up. That can be a very challenging time, no matter where you're at in your divorce, even if it's been a while and you are post-divorce. But we've got all kinds of support there. So jump on one of the calls, get in and around guys that know what you've got going on and can support you. Check it out all at thedivorcedadvocate.com. All right, the single dad's budget, that's what we're going to talk about. And divorce is tough for single dads. It often the financial part of it feels like kind of like a reset button, if you will, without really even knowing where everything's going to go and how everything's going to transpire. Child support, new living arrangements, the emotional toll, it just oftentimes feels like our financial our finances are in a mess, or really in just a flux, right? But it doesn't have to be that way, and it doesn't have to stay that way, guys. Rebuilding your financial foundation is possible, and this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 6 steps, and I'm going to walk you through those step by step. And I do want to say that wherever you're at in listening to this, even if you're contemplating divorce and you're listening to this, it's very, very important, because I was even just talking to a guy yesterday. It happened to be at a kid's birthday party who was contemplating divorce, and I was chatting with him about the fact that there's a right way and a right way that you can do this that can make it much easier. And so if you are contemplating that, this is going to be very, very important. If you're in the middle of it and say you've already submitted the financial disclosures and you're negotiating stuff, this is equally as important, because there are things that you can do that are going to set yourself up, everybody up for success post-divorce. And if you're post-divorce, and maybe you didn't have guidance through this, and you're working through some of the challenges we're going to talk about, this is important too, because you can get back on track and you can get things sorted out. So wherever you're at, this is really, really important. And the first one is just to face the numbers. Like I said, if you're going through this, you're having to some extent face the numbers and know what's going on. So you can't really hide from it, but I do know a lot of guys that go through it and just don't really think through it and don't focus on it enough, or weren't even the ones that were very much in charge of their finances. So they kind of just go with whatever the agreement is and feel like it's going to be okay. Now, that's a strategy. That's a way to do it. But oftentimes I find that post-divorce, that will turn into some sort of challenge. What that challenge might be is different for everybody, but sorting this out and work through it in a logical manner up front is way, way, way more just better in general. And it just gives you a peace of mind post-divorce. So this first and crucial step about getting honest, the first thing you need to do is you need to list all of your income sources. Now, you probably did that on a financial disclosure. If you haven't been through divorce yet, you're going to have to. It means all of wherever you get income, primary salary, side hustles, and if you're going to potentially get child support or alimony payments. So that's happening more and more these days with some of us dads. So be realistic about what these payments are and when they're going to start and their exact amounts. So that's going to definitely help you to know what's coming in. And then the second thing that you need to do, this is all within first step one, which is knowing what your numbers are. You need to track every single expense. And when I see every single expense, I mean for at least a month. And again, if you're just starting divorce right now, or you're in the middle of it, do this as well. This is going to help you immensely put together a plan or to negotiate out your whatever the settlement is going to be in your divorce. But for at least a month, meticulously record every dollar that you spend. You can use a spreadsheet to do it, an Excel spreadsheet. There are apps like Mint or YNAB or just a notebook and just write down. But you want to categorize and document everything: housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, childcare, entertainment, subscriptions, and whatever miscellaneous cash items. If you're buying whatever at the food truck or at the gas station, or you're buying scratch lotto tickets or whatever it might be, you need to know every single dollar that you are spending so that you can put this into your budget. And then the last thing you need to figure out with your numbers is, what are your debts? What are your credit card debts? What are your personal loans and debts? What are your car loans, your mortgages or rent? Get an absolute clear picture of what you owe, to who you owe it. And another really important part is, what is the interest on all that? So what I suggest is finding a way to document that within a spreadsheet, because then you can put everything in. And then we're going to talk about things in the last step that things change. So it gives you a good idea of what you've got going at that given time, but then you're also able to make changes and adjustments to it, or you're able to project out and figure out what you might need to do if you need to figure out what your income needs to be and you need to increase your income, or if you need to figure out how you need to reduce your debt, how much do you need to reduce? You can do that easier within a spreadsheet. And if you don't know spreadsheets, or you don't know, that's fine too. Use a notebook or whatever manual process you want to do it. But I find that spreadsheets can be very, very helpful, because it helps you just look at potential future ways or things that you can adjust really quickly. Okay, so that's step one. You got to know your numbers. You got to face the numbers. You can't hide from it anymore. You're going to be forced during the divorce to deal with some of this through your financial disclosure. So if you've never done anything, that's going to be a time, and then that's a great time to work through these steps and start putting things together. But even if you're after the fact and you kind of just let things happen and you've got your agreement and you're in a little bit of chaos, get it together, put it all in one place. It does take a little bit of an effort, but I'm telling you, the effort that you're going to put into it is going to give you much more peace of mind throughout just your day and nights and in general. Step number 2, crafting your new budget. Now that you know where your money's going, you know everything about it, you need to put together a budget. And fellas, I cannot, for those of you like myself, so I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've been really great about a budget, very detail oriented to the penny, and I've been on the other end of the spectrum. And I can tell you, getting a budget together is huge. And for me, that's why I mentioned the peace. It's the peace of mind, knowing what's getting spent, how much money you have. It seems, at least my experience has been, that if I know how much money I've got coming in, if I know where it's going, if I know what my finances are and I feel comfortable with that, other things in my life feel much more stable and steady. So if you haven't done it and you're just kind of not, like, try it, just try it, because I'm telling you, it's going to give you some some peace of mind. So what you got to do when you're crafting your budget, and I just also want to say this, some of this stuff is very cursory, right? I'm talking in generalizations. It's going to be very specific for you to do for your own situation. But I also highly recommend talking to a certified divorce financial analyst during this process to help you. And the analysts that we work with are going to do this exact thing. They're going to talk really specifically, and you may have heard our episode a month or two ago about that and kind of some of the things. They're going to take you through this entire process. And I'll tell you, I wish I would have had that going through a divorce. It is a huge thing. But one of the things they're going to talk about is prioritizing your needs over your wants. When your budget is tight, and it's going to be a tight budget, no matter it's going to be a tight budget no matter how much you make, because it's just a math problem. You're going from one household into two. It's going to be more expenses, so it's going to be a lifestyle change. So when it's tight, essential expenses have to come first. So that's knowing your difference between your needs and your wants. Housing, food, utilities, transportation, childcare, those are all non-negotiables, right? And then everything else is going to be a want, and those wants can be adjusted. So when you figured out what your wants and your needs are, you will need to allocate what your income is, and you're going to need to assign a specific amount of money to each spending category based on your tracking from that step one, right? So you've got your spreadsheet, or however you've compiled how you're spending every single one of your dollars. And then you're going to allocate all of that income into the different categories that you're going to spend them on. Now, there's a simple rule that you can use. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. Many of you have probably heard that. 50% is for needs, 30% is for wants, and 20% is for savings and debt repayment. So the 50% for needs is really pretty straightforward. It's housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, minimum debt payments, and stuff like that. Wants, the 30% is going to be stuff like dining out, entertainment, whether that's going to a game or going to watch a movie or something else, hobbies, new clothes. Hopefully you have clothes already, but maybe new clothes or vacations or anything like that. Those are going to be wants. Those are going to be things, basically, if you think about, hey, can I live with this or without it? Stuff like, well, I need food. I can't live without that, so I got to be able to go to the grocery store. I need housing, so I need to be able to pay my rent or my mortgage payment. I need a vehicle because I need to get the car. I need a vehicle, or I need money to pay for the vehicle, so I need to go to work so that I can pay for the rent or anything else. But I mean, transportation also, that could potentially be a need, because if you have public transportation or an alternative way to get to work, or maybe you work from home and you don't need that. So, I mean, this is going to vary for different people in different lifestyles, right? And then the 20% for savings and debt repayment, emergency fund, retirement, additional debt payments other than just the minimum. And then as a single dad, your needs category might initially also be higher due to child-related expenses. So you're going to adjust these percentages to fit your unique circumstances, like I said. So some of those wants might be a little bit skewed, or just a little bit higher, if you will, because you do have kids, and so there's a minimum lifestyle that you want to be able to function and operate in. But again, this is going to depend on you. This is going to depend upon your lifestyle. It's going to depend upon your family. So that 50-30-20 is just a guidepost, or just guideposts for you. But you want to, if it is tight, you want to really, really try to keep within this. And if you need help with what I want, the difference between a want and need, and I'm not being facetious here. There's people that I talk to that seriously don't know or don't understand the difference between a need and a want. I think for the most part, guys that I do talk to, and specifically divorced or divorcing dads like you guys, have a pretty strong understanding, because you have a pretty strong idea of what things are going to be like post-divorce, because you've thought through the financial thing first. It seems to be one of the first things that that us dads think of when we're approaching this or going through this process. Okay, so then that we're still in crafting your budget. We talked about 50, 30, 20. The next thing is thinking about how you're going to integrate child support and doing this very carefully. The child support, as you know, is designed to cover your children's expenses, not necessarily your own. And ideally, these funds should be directly allocated to things like, and so let me just be clear, I'm talking to the dads who think or are receiving child support, which is happening, like I said, more and more these days. So they're to be allocated to things like the kids' share of housing, utility costs, food and clothing for them, school expenses, extracurricular activities, and medical care. I would highly recommend setting up a separate account or even just a distinct line item in your budget to manage these funds so that you're ensuring that they're used for their intended purposes. And why this is important, guys, is if you can document this and you can demonstrate this post-divorce, if there's any kind of issue or accusations or whatever, if you unfortunately get into something like this, if you've got this all documented and there's a question about it, you can easily say, this is the dollar amount that I've been given. This is what I've spent. It will be very straightforward and makes things much, much easier to mitigate post-divorce, and could actually save you a whole buttload of money of not having to go back to court and then have to fight this out and demonstrate this in divorce. And then if you haven't documented, you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to figure it out anyway. And then you're going to have to bring it to court if you're taken to court. So if you do it up front, it can be very, very helpful. Okay, that's step number 2, creating your budget. So step number 1 was knowing all of your numbers. Step number 2 is crafting that budget. Now, step number 3 is managing child support payments. So I just touched on this, but it takes very careful planning and management. First off, understand what the order is. So if you're post-divorce or you're just getting done with your agreement, understand what the order is. If you're not yet, then you need to understand what that's going to mean, what the order is going to mean, the exact amounts, the payment schedules, and the stipulations. It's going to mean also how it's going to factor into your budget. How are you allocating these funds specifically for your children's needs? If your child support fluctuates or is sometimes late, budget conservatively using only what you can reliably expect coming in. Now, you won't know that until you get down the road and kind of see what happens with your ex, but just also know and understand what is expected for extracurricular or other expenses that are happening with the kids, because some of that, it should hopefully be clearly laid out in your agreement. But oftentimes I see that this does not happen, and then questions come up and then arguments happen. And if that happens, the only people that suffer are the children, because then it becomes more difficult to be able to allow them to be able to do some of the things that they might be wanting to do, or to be able to just simply provide for them if you haven't clearly laid these things out in your agreement. So if you can communicate with your ex and you do have a good co-parenting relationship, open communication about this stuff is really important, especially bigger expenses, kids' trips for schools or things like braces or medical stuff that comes up. It can be really, really helpful. But if you can't, hopefully you have your agreement. And so, guys, if you're going through it or you're just thinking about it, get that agreement airtight. One of the things I do when I'm coaching is we go over the agreement in very specific detail, and we talk about, hey, have you considered this? And what about this? And what about that? And making sure that you're dotting as many I's and crossing as many T's is absolutely critical. You do not want to have anything left up to interpretation post-divorce, because that means if you guys can't interpret it the same way, then guess what? You're going back to court. It's going to cost you thousands of dollars, and then the judge is going to interpret it for you. And that might not be the interpretation that you had. So take the time going through it, as contentious as it might be. Just make sure that you do that. Okay, so that's step number 3. Step number 4 is I'm calling it finding room to breathe, but what that is cost cutting. So if you find yourself in a situation where your budget looks like, hey, like I have more expenses than I have income, so I need to trim something somewhere. And it's good, and we're going to talk about this too, and going over on a regular basis to assess this. But here's a few things to look at when trying to cut costs. The number one thing I see is reviewing your subscriptions. So we've gotten to this place in the world where, and I've got it too, where these subscriptions are on autopilot. They come out of your account or to your credit card or wherever, just automatically. And some of them you just forget about. So go through your statement, see what's coming out. Hopefully you figured that out in step 1, right? And you know what your subscriptions are, but cancel anything that is not a need, right? That is only a want, and that you're just not using. Streaming services, gym services, apps, whatever they may be. There was a point where I did the math about the gym memberships and what that costs a year versus what I can do, where I can go buy some of the minimum amount of gym equipment that I could get in my house and have a workout, and figure the workouts out still in my house, and maybe outside or whatever, and not being able to, and not going to the gym and cutting that membership. So it's stuff like that. And sometimes you're probably going to maybe have to get a little creative with stuff too. The second one, cooking at home, that I see is huge. You're going to be maybe surprised. Some people are, it depends on what's your lifestyle, but eating out, even fast, just eating out, and just especially fast food is significantly more expensive than preparing meals at home. Again, it's convenient and faster. I know and understand the challenges with schedules and kids, but figure out how to schedule to get to the grocery store, to meal plan, work it in with your kids. It's a great opportunity to connect with kids, but start cooking at home. And I'm just going to say it's a good cost cutting one, but it's just a good one in general to do with your kiddos. So cook at home more. You can negotiate bills, and this goes into, so you figured out what your cable bill is, or what your internet bill is, or if they're combined together. You can call and you can try to negotiate something with them that's lower. Another one is insurance costs. Insurance costs always seem to be going up. Not all insurance people will call you every year and talk to you about those. So check your insurance provider, see if there's ways to save money on your insurance and get better rates. Loyalty programs, those are often sometimes great ways to save a little bit of money here and a little bit of money there. Credit card points are also another one. If you can finagle and you've got the wherewithal and the ability to pay stuff on credit cards and pay it off every month so that you can build up loyalties and even get some cash back returns, but making sure you're paying them off. Sometimes those are great opportunities as well to make some money and to cut some costs. So that's step number 4, is finding some ways to cut your cost. Now, step number 5 is setting some financial goals. So everything we've talked about is really assessing where you're at, getting yourself stable to where you know what you're spending, what your income is, what that all looks like, cutting costs if necessary, all about the budgeting. And now you're setting your financial goals for what you want it to look like in the future. So it's not just cutting back, but now you're thinking about building forward. So one of the things you need to have is an emergency fund. It's critical. We don't know what's going to happen with whatever in life in general. You need to aim for 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses. So all those debits that you put together, your expenses and what your debits were, all of your expenses for a month, you're going to figure out what 3 to 6 months of those are, and then start building up a savings fund for that. Even if it's just a small amount, $25 a week, that you're doing that after a period of time, that's gonna build up. You invest that in an interest-bearing account or investments or something that could also help to build some more money while it's sitting there and waiting. But make sure that you can put that together and you can get that together. That emergency fund is going to be huge. It's going to be another one for me. Again, it was a peace of mind knowing, hey, something breaks down on the car. I have the money to be able to fix it. I don't have to stress too much.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Jude with a quick reminder about the Divorced Advocate Foundation for Fathers, which is our nonprofit that helps dads through divorce with legal education, free or reduced cost coaching, and mental health resources. If you own a business or know someone who does, there's an easy way to help by connecting credit card processing through our partner program. Part of the fees go straight to the foundation with no added cost to the business, and 98% of businesses are actually able to save money on their processing fees. It's a win-win. So if you know a business that accepts credit cards, get them in touch with me by sending a warm introduction email to jude@thedivorcedadvocate.com or give me a call directly at 720-255-1021.
Next thing in setting new financial goals is a debt repayment plan. If you have high interest debt like credit cards, figure out a plan to tackle that. It could be a plan of the debt snowball, which is paying off your smallest ones and then going towards paying off the big ones, right? Like a snowball. Or it could be the debt avalanche, which is the opposite, paying off the highest interest rate ones first and then the lower interest rate ones after. If you can find zero balance stuff, again, sometimes you might have to get creative, or lower cards where you can transfer balances for a period of time as well. That can help too. And so you might have to get creative. Again, also, it's going to take a little bit of time, guys. It's going to take effort and paying attention to this stuff. And you're going to sometimes you're really just going to have to carve out this time, maybe on a weekend or a time during the week after work where you don't have the kids, where you have to sit down and do this and pay attention to it. Because especially if it takes creativity, then you have to research, you're going to have to talk to people about it. If you have a financial planner or a certified divorce financial analyst or somebody, you're going to have to sit down with them. You're going to have to come up with these numbers. But take the time. I'm telling you, it will definitely be worth it. The next financial goal to plan for is your kid's future. This would be college or trade schools or something, but you're going to want to start trying to put something away for that, as well as your retirement. So the less you need to contribute later, if you're contributing now, compound interest is awesome. It could be an IRA. It could be a 401k. It could be 529 for the kids, for the college. But and it doesn't have to be large amounts, guys. So it can be small amounts to start out. But the point is to start doing it and just do it regularly and do it consistently. And the last one is fund money. Don't make your budget so restrictive that it's unsustainable. Allocate a small amount for guilt-free personal enjoyment. This keeps you motivated. And so that could be a fun fund, right? Say that fast 5 times. It could be a fun fund where you're just putting maybe excess change in a jar. You could do a fun thing with your kids. But again, if you're just doing something small, and it doesn't have to build up to be huge. It could be build up to where you're going to use it, and then maybe there's something that you all want to go do together. It doesn't have to be something big and fancy and huge like a big European trip, but it could be a fun camping trip, or it could be a fun outing to do something that you saved up. And while you're doing it, you're also teaching and modeling phenomenal financial awareness for your kiddos to be able to do this. Something that in this day and age of instant gratification, teaching them to put together a fun fund and save even just your coins and some loose change and extra money that you get into that and builds up over time. And then you have the satisfaction of spending that on something is just an awesome, awesome lesson for them. Okay, so that is your future financial goals and putting those together. And the last one we're going to talk to, and I alluded to earlier, is review and adjust. You need to be going over this budget and paying attention to it on a regular basis, even if it's just once a month, looking at it and assessing it and reconciling your budget to what you actually spent. Some of this is a lot easier these days with QuickBooks and some of the other online Mint and some of the online software that will do it automatically for you. But you got to look at it. You got to see where you might have overspent, because that's going to happen. Where can you save money and cut, like we talked about in one of the steps? Quarterly, quarterly, but at the very least annually, conduct a thorough review and make your different adjustments, because what this is going to do is this going to help you plan. All right, do I need to make more money? Maybe I need a side hustle. Maybe I need to look for a new job, or maybe I need to start pushing for a promotion in my existing job, whatever it might be. If it comes down to I've cut all of my expenses to as far down as I can, and I still am struggling, I need to maybe go to school so that I can earn some income, whatever. It's going to help you to assess what you need to do in creating a plan in going forward. So at the very least, you're going to do a thorough review annually and go into this in intimate detail. And then last, I just want to say, and this will be my final point, which is be patient and forgiving with yourself. This doesn't have to be perfect. And if you've never done this before, it's not going to be perfect. Even if you've done it before, and you guys know it's not perfect. It is adjusting. It's information. There's going to be months where you're going to go off track. The key is just to learn, is to make an adjustment and then get back on course. Just like anything, like we talk about with working out, with any of the self-care, you're going to fall off the wagon. You just get back up. You keep trying again. And then eventually you get the hang of it and you'll get better at it. So it's not rebuilding your finances and figuring this all out is not a sprint. It's a marathon. So what you're thinking about is long-term for yourself and for your kiddos. It's going to take discipline. It's going to take honesty. It's going to take a willingness to learn and to implement this. But I'm telling you, by taking these practical step-by-step actions, you're not only going to regain control of your money, but you're going to set an amazing, powerful example of resilience and financial responsibility for your kiddos, which ultimately that's what we want, is to have them be healthy, functioning adults. So by doing this, that is going to go a long way for helping them to do that. Gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you found some value in these 6 steps for rebuilding your finances from scratch. I know that this can help you and it will help you. Also, if you've enjoyed this, please share far and wide. We've had an increase in downloads over the past month. It's a credit to you sharing. I think a lot of you have been sharing on social media. That is a great place to get the word out about this. Share it far and wide. Leave us a star rating. Those help immensely too, to get other dads that are doing keyword searches that find us. They see great star ratings, or even better, they read one of your comments and leave a comment. Leave some details about that. I read all the comments on every single one of the podcast platforms and the social media platforms. And I sincerely appreciate when you give us your feedback and you tell us how it's impacted you. But that also encourages another dad that might be mired in whatever he's going through during his divorce to reach out and get involved in the community too. So you have the power to be able to make an impact on other dads going through that just by leaving a comment or a star rating or sharing this on your social media. So I appreciate it. I sincerely appreciate you listening and tuning in this week. Have a terrific week and God bless.
To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.